Welcome back to Senior Talk Radio here on 88.1 FM and WCWP.org. This is Project Independence in You. I'm your host, John Ryan. My co-host today is Otto, and we are with Kristina Lou in the middle of the Kristina Lou show. And it's always good. I mean, this is the part of the show which we've talked about in the past. Pretty much anything goes. Stuff that's on my mind or Otto's mind or Kristina's mind, stuff that's going on around the town. Upcoming guests. It's it's kind of a hit and miss kind of. I don't mean hit and miss badly. There's no set rule as to what we're talking
right.
about.
No rules on this show. Just to be kind, right? We don't want to like to be mean on the show.
I got one though. John is a financial man, right? How about this GameStop thing, John? Could you explain that to?
Yeah, I would touch on it for a minute. And being very serious, this has nothing to do with the town or anybody. And not having nothing to do with me.
It's just current events.
Yeah, it's a current event. With people making a fortune and losing a fortune, and it's just a disaster. GameStop is a company that was a month ago, $13 a share, $14 a share, and yesterday it hit $500 within a month. And it went from yesterday it went from $498. It went down to $112, went back up into the 300s and closed at 193. So if you bought it yesterday at 492, you lost 200 points. Mm-hmm. And then AMC, the movie theater, yesterday went from 4 to 20. What they seem to be doing right now, which is nothing more than a game, they're taking companies that are not good companies, and they're ready to go out of business over time. Bed Bath & Beyond, they've announced they're going out of business. So what people do is they sell the stock. They don't own it. They sell the stock in anticipation of it going down. So if I sell the stock at 20, but I don't own it, when it goes to 10, I'll buy it. Now I made 10 points in reverse. Okay, I had to borrow the stock. There's a way to do it. You have to have a margin account. You have to be very suitable for this, because you can lose it. If the stock like yesterday went to 500, you sold it at 20, you got to buy it back. Now I got to buy it at 500 to make good for the stock I borrowed at 20. And what's going on now in these chat rooms, and these are younger people, but then it just took the whole world by storm. They're seeing the names of these companies that basically have short positions, and they're squeezing them, meaning if I shorted the stock, I have an unlimited liability. So if I sold it at 20 and it goes to 25, I'm getting a little nervous. It goes to 30, I'm getting scared. It goes to 50, I'm petrified. And that's the seesaw that occurred. So now you have petrified people putting in market orders. The stock was moving 20, 30 points at a time. And then all of a sudden it's satisfied, somebody's playing the game in reverse. And really what it's proving, in my mind, from an investment perspective, and very coincidentally, we're going to have Peter on next week, which is even more knowledgeable, that as an investor, you have to put together a portfolio that's purposeful for you, not read the newspaper. If you want 5%, 10%, if you need certain monies to live off, that's what you do. You don't start chasing these games, because when this whole thing will wash out, there's going to be so many winners and so many losers. And it's sad. Actually, while I'm talking to you, I'm just seeing where we are today. Today, it's up $144 to $338. Now, what's stock of it? That's almost 100% increase in a company that, if anybody wants to know what they do, GameStop.
It's video games,
but you have to go to the store. Whereas everybody has those video games. At home.
The problem is too, is that, because I have a little brother, so we spent a lot of time in GameStop, over the years.
Years ago.
And years ago. But now is, everything is electronic. You don't need a hard copy of anything anymore. Right. It's all like these digital kind of things. So,
GameStop is Blockbuster.
Right.
Years ago.
Right.
Yeah. You don't need Blockbuster anymore, because now you get Netflix, you get Amazon, you get whatever you're going to get.
Absolutely.
But you didn't get that. Years ago, you had to go there, you rented it or whatever you did, you played it there. I don't even know what you did.
You could buy, like, it was hard. It was like buying like a DVD or something, and then they had accessories, I said, unfortunately, it's everything now is online, so it makes it
You can
difficult.
go on demand or Amazon
Right.
or
It's just
Netflix or,
it's hard.
you don't have to go to Blockbuster, which you couldn't go to if you wanted to,
But I think you can get those videos, the games also online, right, Christina?
Yeah. You just like download it. You pay for it and download it right
Okay.
there. Yeah, it's not, I
It's
mean,
not a company that has a future.
mm,
And that's the shame of it. But then people, I'll get a call. We don't get any calls because we don't do this kind of stuff and people don't pay attention. But all of a sudden, some guy's getting a call at 100. Yeah, we should buy it. They don't know what they're telling the people to buy. It goes to 120, they're happy. But then when they try to sell it, they're selling it for 60.
mhm.
When the market goes this fast, you cannot get a real price on it whatsoever.
I'm not a stock buyer, trade, or whatever, but I have a small account where I fiddle with a few dollars, and with TD America, I'll use the name, all right. And what they do is, I got an email this morning that said these 10, 15 stocks were restricted, that they won't trade those stocks. And GameStop and you mentioned AMC, they were on that list.
Yeah,
That's
well, I
got
think that's the problem that's now going on. It's like that this got kind of halted and then created kind of this, like I said, I'm no expert in it, but just from seeing things on the news or whatnot, this kind of created an issue.
But that makes it worse, Otto, because now where you are, you can't do it.
That's true.
Dan is saying, and Dan is right too. It's an attack on large hedge funds who short for businesses. So what you have is, good, you're on, Dan.
I was waiting for it, Dan.
Got me going here. Okay, so GameStop, John, the analysis on GameStop is that 60% of its business is dealing with used games, which a lot of gamers still like to do. So one analyst has put their existence to go out 5 to 7 years. Now, a company that still has 5 to 7 years, that shouldn't be shorted by these big hedge funds. I'm sorry, I support what the Reddit group did and what the kids did over the last couple of days to save a company that they like, that still has some energy in it. And the hedge fund, the problem with these big hedge funds are, and again, I'm taking probably a partially political position here, is that the economics of this country is run by these guys. Mm-hmm. And Main Street and Wall Street are no longer tied together anymore. We used to talk about Main Street and Wall Street. We're not tied together anymore. And some of the guys on Main Street were starting to, but what I find more interesting, and I'll get out after this because this does border on politics, is that now that the hedge fund guys are getting a bit of their own medicine, they're whining and complaining to the SEC that there was something wrong here, and there wasn't. It was just the regular guy wanting to get involved in a company that they love. Because, John, I think I've heard you say this, and if I didn't, I'll apologize. Only invest in things that you like.
I agree.
Don't invest in things that you don't like. And these people, my son being one of them, is a huge gamer, and he loves GameStop. And just to put a point on this, one of the equipment manufacturers who put out a brand new game this past winter, I'm not going to say which one, included a CD-ROM drive, which means they're committed to physical items still. But yes, all games are now available online. You just download them, you play them, and that's it. And the thing about that is how the companies the companies make money here is because you can't trade those games in.
Right.
You download them. These physical games will trade in. So there's some analysts that say that GameStop's got 5 to 7 years on it. And for hedge funds to pick on a company that was still viable is disgusting to me personally.
But, and stay, because the other side of it is, and this is where Peter goes along with, that is the definition of capitalism. Anybody can do what they want to make money, but then these guys now want regulations. Yes. They want it so that only they can make the money. And I'm agreeing with you 100%. I explained how it occurs, but it's a disgrace that the billionaire hedge fund managers now, and they will get the laws changed.
Oh, they will. They'll change the rules.
The fact that Ameritrade sent out to Otto that you couldn't do certain things already is an indication that they got phone calls and said, you got to stop these guys.
The further Wall Street gets from Main Street and the average investor, the worse it's going to get. I believe. Mm-hmm. I believe. But anyway, that's my.
But listen, on the positive note, with this whole situation, what I did find is that people on both sides, that I'm friends with on Facebook, that go both political ways, were both really outraged. So I said this, I have to say, was actually kind of a unifying issue that people kind of agreed on. And I was like, all right, well, that's going to be the silver lining of this, is that it was actually bringing people together who, like I said, are on opposite ends of this spectrum of things, but
Oh,
equally
absolutely.
close.
When Robinhood closed up trading on AMC and
Mhm.
another company that I love, AMC, I'll be in the movies again this weekend,
Mhm.
and GameStop, when that's, to me, John, that was a real violation of the ability for capitalism to exist.
Mhm.
I'm agreeing.
People wanted to invest in this company. It's nobody's business to tell me who I invest in and who I don't invest
Right,
in.
that's the risk you take, and that's the bottom line.
There was collusion, but it was not insider trading. It was just a
Sure.
group of people who said, "Hey, look, we
Yeah,
love
let's
this
do it.
company. Let's try to save it."
Yeah.
So,
It was their form of investing. There's nothing wrong with it. They do it all the time. You're making a bet. I don't do it. I try to tell people to invest,
I don't either.
diversify, and
Yeah.
have long-term goal. What these guys were doing, they had every right to do it, but they got too close to the bigger guys.
Well,
And
right.
And you're absolutely right. Somebody like me, I need long-term investments for retirement, as opposed to a 25-year-old who said, "You know what? I can
Right, you
play
could take risks.
now."
Right.
They put a couple of $1,000 and take a chance.
And that's the problem. The millennials are becoming the largest population, the largest group in the
Mhm.
country. And if they decide they want to play in the market, those hedge fund managers are probably going to get a little scared.
Yeah, just one quick one before we go to the break.
Yeah.
I have Peter and I are working with a school. We have their pension plan, and last week I think I probably had 40 Zooms. Last Friday I wasn't here because we made a mistake and we started them. Anyway, everybody 30 and under has Robinhood accounts or these accounts. And I go, when I was 30, I didn't even have a stock account.
Yeah.
We didn't until I got into the business. But I mean, now
It's so
you come out
true.
of
All
college,
my
you have a
friends,
Robinhood
all my
account.
yeah.
In the old days, you had to call your broker had to make the deal for you, blah, 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 that kind of stuff. You just push a few buttons and
Yeah.
you
And
just,
you paid a fortune for it. It was expensive.
The
Yeah,
reality
these you could
is,
just you could switch around, because all of Jay's workers, they're like 21 that are on, and they all have, they're on their phone and they're just playing around and this because it's just they're not putting that much money into it, so you can kind of just like do whatever you want. But like it's amazing because I was like, when did this happen? I was like, when I was 21, I certainly this was not on my radar.
I think the reality is you can get a 0.5% interest in a bank, or where do you put your money? So, your options are not very big.
Yeah.
I agree. But especially as a senior, your option is never something like this because you lose money.
Exactly.
You can make a fortune, but more likely you're going to lose. We're going to move on from that whole GameStop thing. But what the ultimate end result is, it just shows that within this country, as democratic as we want to be and as caring as we want to be, et cetera, and Kristina said it at the break there, it's rich versus poor. And when there comes an opportunity for the poorer people to come up with some scheme, concept, everything in life is a scheme until it becomes a fact. And they're trying to squash them, which is a shame, because if it was done on the other side by the bigger hedge funds and they made another $20 billion, that'd be fine. They don't care. And you lose yours. But, unfortunately, it goes back to math earlier. There's certain things in life that are in your control. There's certain things in life are not in your control. And so, you can protest, you can fight, going still a little political, this woman, whatever, the woman who's denying the Sandy Hook shootings. I mean, you can't. I mean, you want to get crazy. You put on the news, sometimes you absolutely can make yourself nuts. I can't even think of her name, which is insignificant. I'd rather not even say it. But the point is, let's get a commune going and
Right.
we'll have fun, and that's it. We'll grow
Right.
our
I'm just trying to simplify things. I just, it's like, so I say to everyone, I was like, let's just keep things as simple as possible right now. There's so much uncertainty and crazy things that are so out of our control that, I'm not trying to look for anything else. But what I am trying to mention today is, I believe it is someone's birthday, very close to Mr. Otto Los. I think it is his bride, Bunny's birthday today. Is that correct, Otto?
Really?
That is correct.
And,
Happy
Otto, in case you haven't gotten her a present yet, I'm here to facilitate in this process. Because as we have discussed in previous
Did
shows.
she pay you off, or what's the story here?
Well, listen, I just know I was going through our calendar that I got each of us, the 2021 Everything the Holiday, and Bunny's birthday is National Carnation Day.
Oh.
So I think you can go. This is an attainable goal. They sell carnations all over the place.
I
And
gave
then
her
you're
a
on
rose.
team. Oh, that's right. Well, he went the more
She
expensive.
likes one red rose.
Oh,
I get in trouble if I buy a dozen.
Oh, I love it. So wonderful. So happy birthday to the beautiful bunny. And
She'll be hearing this sometime along the line, maybe.
yeah.
I
Happy
can't-
birthday, Bunny.
And to show
Christina,
her the shows, but they build up after a while. You run out of time.
I know, that's what I know, because we're just so we're all over the place. But
Yeah.
it's really I had to give a special shout out to Bunny, because Otto and Bunny, I say to everyone, are hashtag couple goals. And that's what I'm gonna say there, because the two of them are just
actually, I have a question. Where did Bunny come? I don't mean where did Bunny come from? The name Bunny versus Bernadette.
Bernadette, her sister called her Bunny when she was a kid, and that stuck.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
so cute.
and like she's like a little bunny, I guess.
Oh, I just love it.
but
I love it so much. I'll never forget the
when I
first time I
first-
heard it.
When I first, I'll give you a short story here, but
Okay.
anyhow, we were fixed up on a blind date by her high school friend and my first wife's sister. They were neighbors in Levittown, and they fixed us up, and they gave me the name Bunny, and I'm saying Bunny. I said, "What is she, like a bubble dancer or whatever?"
You're all excited for this day, Christina. Oh
So-
boy.
So that was back before the internet or all of that type of thing. And we both had 3 kids at that point. So we talked on the phone probably over a 2-week span. And I still had this thing in my head about Bunny being a bubble dancer,
I love it.
So anyhow, we finally did go out to dinner, and everything progressed from there. 6 months later, we were married.
Oh wow. Nice.
It
So
was
great.
it was a quick well, it's hard to have a courtship when you have 6 kids involved.
That's true. And that's
No.
40 years you're married, right, Otto? Am I right there?
We were married in 1978, so we were just married 42 years.
2 years. Wow.
So
I was
great.
married 17 years before that.
Were you
So
really that long?
and Bunny was married 10 years before that. So if you added it all up, we got a lot of years behind us.
It's a lot of years. It's a lot of years of monogamy right there. That's
Yeah.
really
27 and 42. What was that, 69?
Yeah.
Be 70 years next year.
Well, you know what it is too, Otto. It just shows. I mean, in your story, as we've like touched upon it multiple times on the show, but you and Bunny, how it all happened and how you found each other. I think it's a beautiful story, and it gives people hope, frankly. And I think it's just about making it work. And like you said, it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows all the time. You both came into the game with 3 children. So clearly that's
There
not-
were a lot of bumps along the way.
Yeah, but I think it's just about your outlook and your compatibility, and I think it's absolutely beautiful. I
Since
love
we're-
it.
Since we're on this subject, and if you don't mind sharing, Otto, when you guys, Bunny and you got married, 6 kids, what were the ages?
Oof.
6 to 10.
Wow.
So now push that into 6 teenagers at the same time.
Painful. I can't even.
Oh, I'm forgetting that part of
And
it.
then push it into, at that point, I lived in Muncie Park in Manhasset, all right? And you couldn't park in the street overnight. So ultimately, we had 8 cars. And I always joke with people, we had 2 things. We had toilet paper delivered, and we had fleet insurance for the cars. And I actually, my father and I remember us being out there, probably not according to building code for North Hempstead, which we were in, putting bricks out on the sidewalk next to the driveway so we could park 8 cars in front of our house off the street. And there was a measurement that you could only get a car that was so long because we couldn't fit 8 cars in there otherwise. So they had to buy shorter
See,
cars.
but even the fact that Otto, that he like worked out the dimensions of what would work just shows why I love Otto. That's just another example right there that they had it like down to a science, of what was going to work.
We would be the first, Bunny and I both, to tell you that it wasn't always easy, that we did go for counseling at some points in time. Kids, whether people like the idea or not, yes, they're resilient, but they also have memories. And if they lose a mother or a father at an early age, contrary to what people think, that that hits them, and you may not see it, but it's there. And there's a lot of give and take. I'll give you one final thing here on it that kind of turned things around a lot. We married 2 weeks, and it was my kids calling her Bunny, and them calling me Otto. And I said, this isn't going to work. They almost thrived on doing that in front of their friends, all right, keeping in mind their ages. So I sat them down and I said, look, I'm not replacing your father. She is not replacing your mother, but we're going to play the role of your mother and your father. So from now on, you're going to call us mom and dad. And that, after that day, it changed things a little bit. It was, we're not, and it's true, we weren't going to take the place. I'm not going to take the place of somebody's biological father. I can play the role and try to support you in that role, and vice versa for my wife. She's not going to take the place of their mother. She's going to play the role of their mother.
But I think that's so important, and that's something I think that is missing a lot of times. When you're dealing with kids, it's like, oh, let's not discuss it. Let's just kind of blow over it. But I think, sitting down and actually saying that to them, really, I think about that all the time. There's so many little kids in my life, and everyone's got stuff going on, and I think about that. And obviously, you don't want to be fully honest all the time. You want to protect a child as much as possible, but you still want to give them that space to know, listen, this is my intentions. I'm not trying to come in here and erase your dad, because that's what the insecurities they could have been feeling. And I think by you doing that, that was going to make a change, because it was showing them listen, I'm not trying to, step on any toes or take anything away, but this is just how it's going to be. And you're Otto. Who wouldn't want you guys?
I believe that is harder if they were 13 to 19 years old. It's much harder than the ages we got them.
Yeah.
Because they still rely on their parents a lot at that age bracket. So we had some time to go into it.
Mm-hmm.
But I have personally witnessed in other families where a new father or a new mother shows up in the teenage years. It can be pretty brutal. Kids can be pretty brutal at that age bracket. And I've seen a lot of marriages have very bad problems because of it. That's a topic all by itself, frankly. Blended families, divorces. Ours wasn't a divorce. I think divorce is harder because the other person is still here.
Yeah.
If the person's not here, they're not here.
Right. But even divorce, I would, I'm a firm believer in divorce. But I believe in divorce like when the kids are 6, 7. When you get teenagers, it's hard. I always had a relationship with my mother. So if there was a divorce, I wanted my mother. So if I had a new mom at the age of 16 or 17, I want no part of her. Just get out of here. Yeah. And maybe at 5 or 6, I would adapt a little bit more. Again, it didn't happen to me, so I don't know. But you got a good point, Otto. Yours was unfortunately due to death. So it wasn't like mommy was going to come by that afternoon and say anything. You weren't going to see mommy again. So,
and I think it's even with that as a given, the fact that Otto said, it takes work. And I think this ties into everything we always talk about, it's to stick it out. I think a lot of times now it's so easy for everyone to give up and throw in the towel. We're in a culture, a disposable culture, frankly. I don't want that anymore. I'm gonna get something new, or the new phone can't. It's with everything. And I think it's you saying, it's so important to try that work, and maybe sometimes it doesn't end up working.
You know what? It's not going to work. Yeah. You might get married, and that after a year or two, a couple of years, you realize it's like, what the hell am I waking up with you for? I can't sleep at night. Give me nightmares. Yeah. So, but people will spend years doing that, and then you turn back and say, is that all there is?
Right.
And it's a shame of it, because there really isn't. You talk about Matt being on earlier, talking about minds and different things like that. When you turn around, at the end of the day, time goes fast enough that if you can't turn around every night and go home and say, I love being with you, because there's nothing else. I tell people all the time, I've never gone to bed earlier in my life since medication and everything else. And we go to bed, we hold hands together in bed. It's like, but that's
So
why
cute.
it's important. It's important to me. And we're in the middle of the Kristina Lou show. We're in the last segment of the Kristina Lou show, where Kristina tells us all that's going on around the town, but we've been babbling, and so we don't even know what's going around town. So Kristina, bring us up to date.
Yes, so we are very, very busy over at North Hempstead, and Project Independence is it's a lot of programs coming out. And that's something that's been really, actually, we were thinking about this at work, is that the Zoom format during winter, I mean, I think we all know it's freezing cold outside, it's windy. A lot of times we wouldn't have so much programming going on in the winter months because of snow and all kinds of things. But because we're via Zoom, we're able to do that. So February is quite the busy month over at Project Independence. Beginning February 1st, which I believe is Monday, is going to be, we are launching live Project Independence exercise classes via Zoom. We did like a little preliminary one with Margaret, who it was one class, it was a couple of sessions. It was very popular because even though you could also watch exercise classes on North Hempstead TV, this gives you more of an interactive kind of component. The instructor can see you and say, oh, Mrs. Smith, stand up straight, or, be careful what you're doing there. And you could ask questions. So it creates more of an in-person class environment. So the classes that are coming out are going to be dance fitness. That's on Mondays at 2 p.m. with Margaret. We have a fitness class on Wednesdays at 10 a.m. with Mike Mancini. And then we have yoga on Thursdays at 11 a.m. with either Suzanne or the fabulous Rebecca Miller. So they're going to alternate those. And what's really great about these programs too is that it's really for people of any kind of expertise. So let's say you're more comfortable sitting in a chair and exercising. All these chairs can be, all these classes can be done in a chair, which I think is really, really special because it opens it up for people. So if you are interested in joining, please call 311 or 869-6311 because you're going to need to register in order to get a Zoom link. So that is very, very exciting. We also have a program coming on Thursday, February 4th, which is an update on our scam program that we did. So this is called Hot Tips on the Most Current Fraud and Scams. It's with Manda Cristal, who works over at Family and Children's Association. We've had her on our radio program. And she's going to talk about just scams. As we know, every day there's something new going on. And a lot of these new scams are tied into the COVID-19 vaccine. So she's going to talk heavy on that and just the government impact checks and everything, scams that are just happening right now. So that is February 4th via Zoom from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. So I really encourage people to do that because as we know, we can't stop all these scams. So what we can do is educate people on it. So I really recommend checking that out. Of course, we have all of our social discussion groups are still meeting. We have one that meets on Thursdays via Zoom. We have a men's group that meets on Fridays. We have quite our lively World in Motion group, which is, I've had the privilege of facilitating those meetings via Zoom, and they're quite the spunky group. It gets a very hot topic current events over there, but it's so wonderful. They meet on February 3rd and 17th. So you could check that out as well. And then we have our Heart Smart program. We did this a couple of months ago, but our Northwell nurses are providing this service. And as we know, February is Heart Health Month. We can't stress enough the importance of that. So that is kicking off on February 10th. It's a 6-week program, and they're talking about all kinds of risk factors and ways to make smart changes in cooking and eating and exercising. It's provided by Northwell Health, and it's really a wonderful program, and it's jam-packed with golden nuggets. So I really encourage people to check that out because you're going to be able to walk away with changes to make yourself healthier. So I think that is great. It's also via Zoom. So call 311 for any of these things. We have also coming up is In Your Own Words, which is a great program. They met, I think there's been about 4 sessions now. One of our social workers, Gina, is providing it. And it's really a therapeutic group about kind of recording your own experiences and journaling and poetry. And especially during this time, I think it gives people an outlet to express themselves, and a lot of seniors say, oh, I don't know, I can't think of anything to talk about. And then just through talking to other people and different prompts, all of a sudden, once they get started, they can't stop. So I think it's really, really therapeutic. So that is February 9th and 23rd. So please call 311 or 869-6311. That is just a sampling of what's going on. And I really encourage people to please check out the journaling, because I actually stumbled upon an old journal of myself that spanned the ages of 13 and 17. So everyone can imagine how angsty it was for a teenage girl between 13 and 17. So it was quite amusing. And, in this theme of love, we're entering February. It is the last page actually ends with me going out with my husband, Jay, and saying, I really hope things worked out. So clearly they did. So I was really glad that that's how my journal ended. And we're
Maybe
together,
you could-
18 years later.
Could you read that journal to us sometime?
Oh God, you guys would laugh. It was really, I think I was very heavily influenced by television shows, and I thought it really, I also want to be clear, my mom, I'm not just speaking, if I had Barbara here, she would tell you, I wasn't really an angsty kid. Me and my mom never had kind of that awkward period, which thank the Lord, because I know that's always kind of a difficult time. But I was always pining over someone. I was very romantic and watched a lot of TV shows, so I thought everything was supposed to be like that. So it was.
You didn't answer Otto.
That might have to be the after hours special. We might have to have quite the special spin-off series because there's also a bunch of notes I found from high school. It was really jam-packed, and my husband was laughing at me. He's like, only you would save these things. And I was like, well, I'm glad I did, because it gave me I'm stuck in the house. So I just sat there and read and had a glass of wine and just chuckled the whole time.
Now, another question, that World in Motion thing, all right?
Yes.
Do they talk politics in that?
Yes.
Do they talk politics or
Okay.
do they?
So this is what I want to say. The World in Motion group is a current events group. It is not a political group by any means. Obviously, it's talking about current events. We're in a time where politics is a heavy part of current events. So it does come up, but I also want to be clear, there's a facilitator there. And also there's someone from the DOSA staff is usually, in the background, Zoom hosting it too. So it's conversational and they're looking, and I have to say, I've been there, and of course things can get, heated as any group can get. But it really, it's very well structured and moves. So I have to say it's actually very impressive, because I know people listen, we're at a time where things could spark out of nowhere. But all these groups, I have to say, the Project Independence members are quite respectful in.
That's important for those kind of groups, because I was involved in Great Neck, and I never ran one, I never went to one, but I was the president of the Great Neck Social Center. Sometimes they can get a little nasty, because I have my opinion and Otto has his, but we would talk as normal people. Some of these people, they're not into that. It's my way or no way, and it's like, oh, come on, just.
Yeah,
No,
that's where I'm going with that.
Yeah.
Is like, I have friends who are still friends, but we do not talk about politics, because there's no talking. Like you said, John, it's my way or the highway. And after a while, look, let's not waste each other's time. This is going nowhere.
Right. And that's, I think, important, and like I said, and we talk about this all the time. I've had this conversation off air with both of you. I feel it's sad, because we're in a time where you can't really have these discussions, because it becomes so heated and polarizing. And it's sad, because frankly, discussions are where you really learn, about things. And maybe there's something you saying that I never thought of, half the things I believe or have learned have come out of discussions with people, and they might bring to the table something that I didn't know necessarily. And I think it's sad that we have moved away from that kind of place, because everything gets so, black or white, and for lack of better words, with certain things. So listen, you got to do what you got to do. But like I said, these Project Independence groups are very well done. And luckily, if anything starts getting there, there's the horn is blown,
That's important.
Yeah. But also, I want to tell people the town has so many great kind of eco-friendly recycling things going on. And the supervisor had put together a lot of great programs and they sent it over. We have our stop program is going to be on Sunday, March 21st. And this is everything you could, aerosols, household chemicals, pesticides, disinfectants, batteries, TVs, computers, the fabulous shredding program. You know, you could bring up to 6 boxes and shred it there. So there's a whole bunch. They do not want you leaving your car. You know, you will pull up and they will come remove the things from your car, which is certainly easier also for a senior, you know, in general, but it's, you know, following safety protocols. So that's March 21st at North Hempstead Beach Park. And then there'll be a bunch of dates after that as well. On 2021, there's a bunch of e-waste programs that we have launched. So there's a lot of drop-offs. And certainly I think we all have that struggle. What do we do with all these? You know, we had left, I think it was last week or something, we were talking about what do we do with old TVs? What do you do with old cell phones? It's there, I mean, the things become outdated so quickly and nobody wants the old thing really anymore. Unless you're me, who still has a VCR in the garage, just in case. You never know when you might need that VCR. So I like to have a sampling of things. But
Kristina,
Go ahead, Otto. I don't, go
a
ahead.
quick question with the recycling. This plastic 5 business, all right? I saw you have notes about recycling plastic 5. What is plastic 5? What is that actually?
well, I will read you what from the town what plastic
Okay.
5 is. Starting in 2021, residents may bring any clean, so it has to be clean. And we learned this, John, I remember I were blown away that you need to clean things before you put them in the recycling, because if they are not clean or washed out, it totally does not, you might as well throw it in the garbage because they can't recycle it. So that's another golden nugget I had learned on the Project
I
Independent.
remember that one. Yep.
But anyway, so you have to any clean number 5 plastic items to the town's residential drop off, and that's on West Shore Road in Port Washington for no charge. And number 5 plastics must be separated from number 1 and number 2 and must be cleaned. You could look on it. So whatever this number 5 thing is, you will see clearly an arrow symbol with a 5 located in the center. That's how you know if your product is a number 5. So
It looks like a triangle almost.
right, it's like I wish I could show
Narrow.
you.
Okay.
Yeah, see, it's like that. It's like that little triangle with a 5. I'm not completely sure exactly what things classify as a number 5. I'm trying to look around my my house right now and see if I have any number 5 recyclable items. But it's really amazing, you know.
Just quick, I think 5s are those soup things that come from the deli.
Oh,
I
like
think-
the lid.
I think that's it.
Well, there you go. Impressive.
And we're out of time. So this was a wonderful, wonderful show. We had a
And
great
next
time.
week we'll get more announcements in.
And both segments were wonderful and you know, everything. And Dan, I like it when Dan's involved. We got to get Dan more involved.
We like to get him fired up and get him in.
Kind of like, all right, I have to find things to get him going. Nevertheless, you've been listening to Senior Talk Radio here on 88.1 FM and WCWP.org. Have a wonderful weekend, everyone, and we'll see you next
Well,
week.
be safe.